Sharpening tip number 3. Now I have spoken to you already about the importance of having a flat back on your chisel or plane iron. This is so that you get a nice acute angle created between the bevel and the back of the tool, but also so that you can remove the wire edge on the back that rolls over when you do your honing. You have to make a choice as to abrasives, and I spoke about sandpaper on glass, the sidewalk. It's possible. And then various stones. Oil stones, water stones, ceramic stones, diamond stones are all available to you for honing your edge. Lastly, you need a reliable method to hone your edge, one you can go back to again and again, getting the same angle and the same results. This is important. Now there are 3 methods of honing, and you have to choose one of them. The first method is called the single bevel method. You take the chisel as it comes to you from the factory with the factory grind on it, usually 25 degrees, but somewhere between 25 and 30 degrees will be your factory grind. You hone at that angle in order to get a sharp edge, and you keep that angle. Single bevel method. The second method is called the double bevel method, where you take your factory grind and then raise your tool up 5 degrees and hone a secondary bevel onto your blade. Okay? The third method is called the hollow grind. And the hollow grind uses a grinding wheel to create a hollow, clever name, in the edge of your bevel so that you're removing less steel. So those are your 3 methods. Let me show you how they work. Let's start with the single bevel method. You're going to go to your stone and try and keep it at that factory bevel with all of your rubbing, all of your honing. Imagine this is our chisel edge. We have to hone it at that single bevel and not vary from that. It's difficult to do. You tend to round a little bit, and if we round, then we no longer have that acute angle in the 25 to 30 degree range. So, to minimize that problem, people have come up with honing jigs. Lots of them have been around for years. This one is adjustable with a wheel on the bottom. You stick your chisel or plane iron in it, and then you adjust the protrusion of the blade from the jig in order to get your angle. So the closer it is to the jig, the higher the angle. The farther away, the lower the angle. The easiest way to do this is to make up a little wooden jig like I've done here, just with a rabbet cut. And I push my blade out until it runs into that ledge. I can always find my angle. Really simple. And then the job is hone in place. Make sure that wheel keeps spinning for you. But that's the single bevel method. The double bevel method could be done with a honing jig, but most people use it out in the field. So you're working somewhere and you bung up the edge of your tool. You hit something, or the wood is really hard and the edge just kind of crumbles on you. The double bevel method means that you can take the chisel and then raise it up 4 or 5 degrees in that vicinity, and drawing the tool just backwards, put on that secondary bevel. As I say, you can do it with a honing jig as well, but if you don't have a honing jig, that secondary bevel, that double bevel method works great. It will turn over a wire edge very quickly, so you have to remember to take that off. But it works great. The problem is that that secondary bevel gets wider and wider and wider, and then you start to round that over and you lose your angle. The last method is called the hollow grind. This chisel shows the hollow grind. You can see the honed edges. The edge and heel of the blade are flat, but inside there it's hollowed out. This occurs on a grinding wheel. I use my grinding wheel very quickly to touch up the hollow and then go to my stones. But the advantage of the hollow grind method is that you're removing much less steel. It's very easy to find the angle without a honing guide because of, you're not trying to find a single bevel, you're just finding that angle and it just snaps into place. It's very easy. The downside is that you can heat the steel. So you need to run a lower speed grinder or a water bath with the grinding wheel, or just pay attention. And what I tend to do is use a number of tools. I grind, and once it gets warm, I set it down, pick up another one. If I can't hang on to the edge with my fingertips, it's getting too warm. So that's the downside to the hollow grind method. You gotta buy a grinding wheel too. But I find that the fastest method. I don't use any one of these three methods to sharpen my tools. I use all of them. So I take the factory grind, I put a hollow in that, and then, particularly with my chisels, I raise it up a few degrees, but it's only a stroke or two, a micro bevel, that I put on my edges, and then flatten the back, and away I go. Sharpening tip number 3. Check out our online mastery program at northwestwoodworking.com. This is where we start. Sharpening is so important. Thanks.